Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sunbelt Baseball Podcast with Matt Stewart and legendary coach Ty Harrington. And Ty is on the road with us today, so he's a road warrior doing this podcast. Late night in Norman, Oklahoma last night. Bad storms, we all know that, and we pray that everybody's safe in that part of the country. But you actually played some baseball, and the Longhorns got a doubleheader sweep.
They did, and look, it was – the weather was so bad. They played Friday night. OU wins game one on Friday night. They canceled Saturday. We had thunderstorms. We had tornadoes. It was wild out there, and certainly a lot of thoughts and prayers to some people because it did affect a lot of people's lives. And then they brought back the game on Sunday. It didn't start till 1. Started a doubleheader, and then another storm came and sat on the outside of us. Next thing you know, they didn't get to finish the game. I think we left the ballpark at 10:50 last night, and it was a long day. But you know me, if it's college baseball, I'm in. I don't care how long it is. You're the same way. It doesn't matter to either one of us. If we're getting to sit and watch it or talk about it, then it's all good. But I did notice this. I noticed that I'm working in my truck, and you're in Florida somewhere on vacation. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I'm having a chill weekend and week. You know, I didn't have any games this past weekend, so we came to Florida, and then I'll be back at it this weekend. Got the Vanderbilt Commodores at the Georgia Bulldogs, and I'll have all 3 games in that series, so that should be a fun one. But let's get started here. Coming up here on the podcast, we are going to talk to Troy head coach Skylar Meade in just a few minutes, and that's going to be our number one story, Coach. What a weekend for those guys. I mean, to go into Coastal and sweep a series and do it emphatically the way they did, 8-6, 11-4, and then 15-3 to run rule them in a 7-inning game in the series finale. It's just unheard of.
It is unheard of. And I would tell you this. You can have the physical parts to go do that, meaning you can have a good enough team to go do that. But to emotionally be able to execute that in that setting is really a challenge because they are so good in their own ballpark. They swing the bat so well. They're so offensive. Their tradition always comes into play late in games. Those last 6 outs are so hard to get in Coastal, and they're so well coached and taught, and there's so many factors that go in to tell you you're not going to do that and that you're not going to be able to do that, regardless if you're good enough. And yet Troy was able to do that this past weekend and do it in a convincing way, even on Sunday in the last game. And so, look, every once in a while that happens, but you number one, got to be good. Number 2, you got to be emotionally set up to go do that. And 3, you can talk about believing in it, but you really got to believe in it. And they were able to do it last weekend.
They were the more physical team. Tremaine Cobb had a grand slam. Brooks Bryan leads the country in RBI. Kyle Mock batting over 400 in conference play. And we're going to talk to Coach about all those guys. Troy's now 14-7, sole possession of second place. And they got Louisiana coming to their place this weekend. They have a shot to make a move on first place. And, I don't know, winning 2 out of 3 would be great. You're talking about a sweep, and I don't know anybody can do that with the Cajuns. But, I mean, they do have a shot. And that's about the best you can hope for with 3 weekends left in the conference.
Yeah, that's going to be a great series. It seems like what has it been, the last 3 weekends, we're talking about a matchup with Louisiana, right? Yep. I mean, wherever they're going, I mean, obviously they're leading the league, but they seem to be going places that you put your eyeballs on. And even this past weekend, which I know we'll talk about in just a second, but I think it's obviously the premier weekend in the Sun Belt coming up and what that's going to look like for them. But you got to love the momentum Troy comes out of there with. Now, what they do with it is going to be determined by how they play. Usually it equates into a win. You can still get beat even if you got momentum and play well. You can get beat a game in a 3-game series, but I'm anxious to see how they handle it, and I'm anxious to really see where it leads for them.
Yeah, their RPI is up to 47, and this is pivotal series coming up for Coastal. They're going to be on the road at Southern Miss. They have their first 5-game losing streak since 2014. They're still in an okay spot from an RPI standpoint. They're 24-11, but now they find themselves fighting for a top 6 spot to stay out of the play-in. Now, it's hard to imagine that they would end up in the play-in as well as they've gone. But that's what this losing streak has done to them.
Yeah, that is hard to imagine. It truly is. But you don't know how they're going to respond because they've got that champion pedigree, right? When I say you don't know how they're going to respond, you know how they're going to respond. You don't know what the outcome's going to be is what I meant to say, because they have that championship ability about them. They've been able to do that before, and it's rare they found themselves in a 5-game losing streak, right? And how do they respond to that? So there'll be a bunch of eyes on them, and I'm sure Coach Gilmore, who's truly one of the great coaches in the history of this game, and I'm sure he's been, on them about, hey, and he knows how to handle that, right? And so that's a tough, interesting task. It truly is. And then go to Southern Miss to see what that's going to be like. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be a hard-fought series this weekend.
It is. Story number 2 is Louisiana wins 2 out of 3 from Southern Miss. I mean, the first 2 games of the series, Coach, were as good a college baseball as you can get. They were both decided by 3-2 scores. Kyle DeBarge hits a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th in game number 1 to erase a 2-0 deficit, and they win that opener 3-2. We go to game 2 on Saturday. DeBarge has a 2-run single in the 8th to tie it up 2-2 before Gabe Broadus drove home the winning run for Southern Miss in the top of the 9th, and then DeBarge has another monster game in game 3 with a 3-hit day, 2-run homer. They end up winning that series 13-7, the finale in the rubber game of that series. And the Cajuns 17-4 in first place in the conference.
Yeah, look, and you know what's interesting about that Saturday game? I was doing another game and flipped it on, and I think Lajon went into the game, hit the leadoff hitter, and then he ended up giving up a run, which is rare for him, I think, if I not remember right. I didn't get to see the hit. I had to turn it off to take care of what I was doing, but you don't see that very often at all either. But the hard-fought games between 2 really good programs, I mean, you almost expect it. I mean, that's what you watch. You peel your eyes on those games, knowing that how well coached they are, how well good of players there are, and the drama that can unfold, not only in the middle of a game like, probably coaches recognize, but at the end of the game, as a fan, you start to recognize what that looks like and how exciting it is.
No doubt about it. So UL has at Troy, as we mentioned, and Southern Miss will be hosting Coastal Carolina coming up this week. So story number 3, these 2 teams we know can hit the ball. App State sweeps at Georgia State, goes to Georgia State, and App physicals the Panthers in their own yard and end up winning that thing. Banks Tolly hit his 18th home run, set the single-season program record for the Mountaineers. Xavier Maranta has another big game, big weekend. He has 19 RBI in his last 2 Sun Belt series. Drew Holderback, their first baseman, has a 41-game on-base streak. The Mountaineers have won 7 in a row, and they put themselves into position to be in that top 6. And we saw them get to the semifinals in the tournament last year.
Seems kind of a pattern for them that they start to play good in April, right? About the middle of April, and then they keep progressing into May. And I mean, a lot of reasons for that. It could be, who knows, right? But that's what you want to trend late in the year, is to be playing your best baseball, to be healthy as you can be. And it looks exactly what App State's got going on again this year.
And story number 4, South Alabama takes 2 out of 3 from James Madison. The Jags starting to show some signs of life here. That's 2 big weekends in a row for Mark Calvey's team as they've moved into a pretty good spot. They're tied for 9th and 10th with Georgia State, but now there's about a 2-game separation between that 10 spot and the 11 spot, which Texas State's in right now. By no means does that mean it's safe, but they're moving in the right direction. I like what we're seeing from South Alabama right now, especially from their pitching. Cam Hill, their Friday night starter, had a strong start for them to get that series started well.
It's interesting. I had them last weekend and on Friday, Saturday, and they threw the ball really well. They played good enough defense. They had incredibly timely hitting, and they're starting to play their best baseball. Now, I say that. You go back, the beginning of the year, they had about a 2-week stretch in there where they were healthy. They played really well. And then they lost a couple guys, and then lost a guy for the season right before they went to Texas State, but they've been able to kind of keep it rolling. But they pitch really well. And let me tell you what else South Alabama does a really good job on. They play on natural surface at home, but they defend the baseball incredibly well. In the middle of the field, all the way through, all the way to the outfield, they do a great job of defending the baseball.
No doubt about it. And that's a hard transition sometimes to go from that natural, playing half your games there, and going and playing on the artificial a little bit. So it's a different kind of game. And I love their field, by the way. I was sitting there watching some of the games. Stanky Field is just a immaculate ballpark. I love to look at that thing. The rest of the series, everybody else was home winners. Georgia Southern swept Marshall. Looks like Thunder and running out of some gas here in the month of April. Old Dominion won 2 out of 3 from ULM. That was actually a great series. The first 2 games of that series went extra innings. They split those, and the Monarchs ended up winning the series on Sunday. They've won 3 straight series in a row, and Arkansas State 2-1 series win over Texas State.
Yeah, and I think that, you just said the home teams seem to, have done a little bit better job or found ways to win. But I'll tell you, it's going to you got 3 weekends left, and it's going to get tight. I mean, there's some separation, but you want to be in that top 6, as you were talking about with Coastal. You want to be in that top 6 because you don't want to play in, because it'll cost you a pitcher just to get in the tournament. And I don't know that anybody's ever come out of that, to my knowledge, and won the tournament. And so that's a hustle to get in that top 6. And then there's that want to make the tournament and trying to get in the top 10 to be able to even get in the tournament, the postseason, to continue your hopes and continue your season. So it's coming down to the last 3 weekends. It's not going to surprise me if the last weekend decides between 2, maybe 3 teams for that top 6, and then probably 3 teams between that top 10 guys even getting into postseason.
Yeah, no doubt. I think you're right, because outside of the top 4 now, and of course Louisiana and Troy have kind of separated themselves a little bit, and then you got Southern Miss and Georgia Southern in that 3 and 4 spot. After that, it's a quagmire going down 4 or 5 through 10.
Yep.
So there's going to be a lot of flipping. There's going to be some teams that are going to be disappointed to have to play that play-in. And there'll be some teams that are really ecstatic because they missed that play-in and get to go right into the double elimination portion of the tournament. So, Coach, time now to bring in Troy head coach Skylar Meade. Skylar, thanks a lot for being with us. How you doing today?
I'm good. You guys?
I know you're doing very well because you just got back from a 3-game sweep of Coastal Carolina on the road. I know you guys have been playing well, but I don't know if I'll use the word surprise, but you're happy if you can win 2. You're happy sometimes if you can win 1. Thrilled if you can win 2. Maybe almost unbelievable when you're able to go into a place like Coastal and sweep a series.
Well, most certainly, like anything, and Coach knows this, like you go in 1 game at a time. As cliche as it is, that's what you have to do if you want to be good, especially in college baseball with the emotional highs and lows. What I commend our guys on is I think the proof's in the pudding. They took each game, 1 day at a time and completely attacked it. Friday night was a great game. Saturday, we got the lead, got separated, played well with the lead for the most part. You have a moment or 2 in there where it gets dicey for a second, of course, but had a couple relievers really pick us up and added on in the ninth to give some separation to win 11-4. And then yesterday and the guys came out and were prepared, and just every at-bat was a grind. And fortunately, we were able to get separation over a great team. Coastal is what everybody thinks of Coastal. They should think they're a great team. We all know they have one of the best coaching staffs in all the country, and I know that they're going to be fine. We just happen to play really well for a weekend, which we need to continue to play well starting tomorrow night in our next game. But, man, it was just a fun time. Great bus ride back. It's the stuff that in college baseball, the games are great, but sometimes it's the bus rides, the camaraderie on the road. That's what it's all about. And for us, that was a big emphasis this year too. We're second in the country in road wins. That's an important thing for us. We've always been good historically at Troy, long before myself playing at Riddle Pace. But you got to find a way to be good on the road if you want to be an elite and high-level program. And thankfully, we've been getting better each and every year. Certainly, we have road games to come down the road, but that's something we're really proud of, is being tough enough to be our best on the road and outside of RPF.
I'm going to say a comment about the road your comment about the road and being on the bus and and then I'm going to ask you a question. But the first part of that is the bus rides are fun on Sunday when you win, first and foremost, and it does have something to do with your selection of movies on the way home and or what you're watching, whether you win or lose. Traditionally, it's that way from a coach's and a team perspective, as you very well know. And but the question is to go into Coastal and you're being humble about it and being a coach about it as you should, and that's who your personality is. It's hard to go in there and win, as Matt brought up, 1, but less 2, but 3 in that ballpark. What was the strength? Or was there one side of the field that was, or offense, defense, or all the above? Which one was the strength for you to be able to go and do that this past weekend?
I tell you, and I don't say this to sound cliche, obviously the offense, I mean, you can look at the runs each and every game, big moments like Friday night, Trey Cobb with the grand slam. You look at Saturday, adding on home runs, doubling the gap from Will Butcher. And then Sunday, it's 3-1, and I think it was the fourth. Butcher's a 3-run homer, make it 6-1, and then the following inning, we end up scoring a ton of runs. But I really think both sides of it were dialed in terms of pitching, hitting. We self-induced every run they got on Friday, just by some walks. Now, some of that was great at bats too, but some self-induced walk, HBP type stuff, wild pitch, scores a run. But, man, we just constantly attacked the zone. Michael Osmond was huge for us Friday and Saturday, doing something he had not done, which was closing out. Michael's a 24-year-old, 3-time knee surgery, D3 kid we got out of Wittenberg, Ohio.
Wow.
Who,
but he's left-handed.
Who's left-handed, so took advantage of his moment, which we all know if you want to win sometimes on the road, somebody's going to have to step up in a different role, just like a Benny Arnett, who's been injected in our lineup and hit a home run Friday, hit a home run Saturday, had another 3 hits yesterday. A kid that's, I think, only started maybe 7 or 8 games for us, and I think he's hitting like 450 with 3 jacks. Really cool story. But I thought all of it was really good. And, our errors, if you look a little deeper, we had a couple pickoffs that we kind of botched up. It was kind of a collaborative effort on who made the mistake more. But our errors were like not necessarily ones that were, hey, here's a double play that we need to make, and we don't make it. Right? Saturday, we told the team we got to turn 2 double plays. We turned 2 great double plays in big spots that prevented runs. We talked about we're going to need to, the wind was kind of blowing on an angle on Sunday. The outfielders needed to make a couple good plays. Some balls hung up in the air. Outfielders took good angles and got to them. And so I just really thought we were dialed in on all facets. And heck, even our base running was really good. That's something we've been really good at for the last month. We were not good early on. We lost some games on base running. You can go back and look. I don't want to go back and look because I got nauseous the first time I saw it. Some things that just weren't good enough. But, man, the guys just the ability to be, like, mentally disciplined, which I know every program talks about. I'm not, like, unique in that. But we have older players and we have guys that have a lot of care. And I think when you have care and focus, you can kind of really lock in for a weekend. And to me, that's truly why we pitched so well. We defended so well. We ran the bases. And obviously all of our at-bats were a grind.
I'll tell you what was so impressive to me was, and we were chatting about this earlier before we got started, Coach, is the way you guys came out on Sunday in Game 3. A lot of times you get those first 2 wins on the road, and the thought process, the mindset is, we've taken care of business. We've done what we came here to do.
Yep.
But you guys put the pedal down on the floor, and you run ruled them on Sunday. And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, whoa.
Well, I'll full disclosure, I kind of said it too. I mean, it's not something you go into and think that's going to happen, especially, like I said, against such a great team. And I think we're a great team. I'm not. I believe wholeheartedly in our group. I think our destiny and what we become is in our control. That being said, it certainly was not something that we had on our baseball bingo card to go on that Sunday. But baseball is weird like that. That momentum is real. Maybe in the big leagues over 162 and all that, the water finds its level and whatnot. But in baseball, sometimes when you got the hot hand, you gotta keep rolling with it. And that's why I do, just like you said, Matt. Like I commend our guys for coming in and just being absolutely aggressive and on all facets, both on the mound and at the plate, and just. it's what you hope when you talk in pregame and you kind of like stir the pot to make sure they're ready. But for them to go out and do it, and our players to do it the way they did, was certainly a pleasing thing as a coach.
You know, I'd make a statement. You were talking about your pitchers that, you know, being older and having the confidence and the mental toughness in that ballpark. It's tough because to keep throwing strikes in there because they're physical hitters. And if you truly don't trust your stuff emotionally, you're mechanically going to fall down or break down at some point in time, as you know, Skylar, and all of a sudden one mistake in that ballpark leads to 3 runs in a hurry. You know, with a walk at bats, and all of a sudden you go to the white part of the plate and they hit a 3-run jack because they all have the ability to hit the ball out of the park. And you guys on the mound, as you mentioned, must have emotionally and mentally been in a really good space, and or something you guys have been at all year long and building up to it as well. And then it also, I personally think it takes special kind of guys to go in and accept the challenge like that. A lot of people will talk about doing it, right? They'll talk, oh, I got this, I'm going to go in there. But to actually execute it and do it and to build off that momentum. And I saw bits and pieces of y'all's game, inning here, 2 innings here throughout the weekend. But to do it collectively over 3 games in that ballpark is pretty amazing. Our last question for me is, and it's a small one, out of the run rule game on Sunday and the way you guys pitched, going into tomorrow night, were you able to save some of your staff because of that too, or?
That's a great question. Yes, we did. We had to get our closer in. So Noah Manning, who preseason All-American, been really good for us. The way our games have worked out this year, there's actually been he hasn't got the pitch like back-to-back days, which is something that is good for him as a sidearm guy, a field guy. Just the way our games have laid out, and we had to make a gut decision on Friday to go with a different guy just in the matchup in the 9th when we were up 8-6. But he's going to get to pitch tomorrow. He needs to pitch tomorrow. Will pitch tomorrow. And the other guy that came in out of the pen, he threw 8 pitches. So we have actually a pretty good cupboard of guys that are going to get out there tomorrow. We'll start the Brady Fuller kid, who started a lot of weekend games, but he needs to get in. He hadn't pitched in a couple weeks, so he's going to pitch tomorrow. So yeah, we're in a good place. We got to do our job. I think the point you brought up too, Coach, and it's so true. And I think this is what happens. We talk about our season in phases, right? Like there's 3 phases. What you think is going to go on the first part of the year, and you kind of are figuring things out. The middle phase is where, all right, now let's see the improvement. Let's see who can handle. And then the 3rd phase is it's time for the winners to step up. Yep. And to me, you mentioned the pitchers. I don't need guys that are coming and telling me what they're going to do. I'm past that. You're going to show me by your actions. You're going to show me by your preparation in the outfield, by the preparation in the pins, the short boxes, the field work, the spin work. You're going to show me how you sprint. You're going to show me. I don't need to be told. The ones that tell you, that's not who gets the ball at the end, right? Yep. I tell this story to our coaches a lot. This is my 17th year coaching, so I've at least seen enough to have some unique examples. But I remember my first year at Carolina, and it was one of the really cool things Coach Kingston kind of, in a moment, we had a guy that was our closer, and he was amazing. Eddie Jamirius, AAA guy with the Reds, just a competitive kid out of Miami. And he'd been our closer, but we had this sidearm guy named Sawyer Bridges who just had it, tough kid, football kid. He had a torn shoulder before I got there, threw 95 over top. He had to move to a sidearm. Anyways, we're playing LSU. We're trying to sweep them, and we'd had a talk when our season had kind of got to a point where, hey, we better get it going, And we said, hey, look, let's use Eddie to get us to the end, and let's use our guy that's got the biggest you-know-what at the end. And we made the switch, and Coach Kingston said, you know what, if we lose a game with Sawyer Bridges at the end, but we had the lead, I can live with it because I know what he's going to give me. And that ended up parlaying us to, Game 3 of a Super Regional against that Arkansas team that should have won the championship perhaps. And I think about that often because as a coach, you got to make a lot of decisions, and sometimes they come with the best intentions and they don't work out. But to me, if you can live with the preparation and the compete and the raw, in the moment with whomever has the ball, I can live with what happens. And so you're going to rock and roll with those guys as you get into really big boy baseball, which to me, I told the team this, when you hit that last, 19 games, that last third of the regular season, that's big boy baseball. It doesn't matter if you're playing the number one team in the country or whomever. All those games are heightened awareness. It's heightened media. It's big boy time. So you need your guys that give you the best feeling before they throw each and every pitch.
I want to talk about some of your guys before we let you go here. Number one, I like your starting rotation. I mean, the numbers probably aren't exactly where you want them to be. There's extenuating circumstances probably as to why that is, but you got Garrett Gaines back this year, which is huge, even though he's not close to 100% yet. Luke Lyon's been solid, 6.6-2 record, sub-4 ERA. Grayson Stewart versus first-team All-Sun Belt. And then Cleet Hartzog has been a guy that's gone between the bullpen and the starting rotation for you. Those guys, that's 4 solid guys you got.
Absolutely. No, we laughed, I think it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. So our first weekend, we had 4 games. So, of course, you had to have 4 starters. And we were looking there week 5 or 6 of the season, and we go, well, this is weird. Not one of those guys is starting, which obviously could be problematic. I don't know if that happened anywhere else in the country, but you have to be unafraid to pivot and to find different roles. And there's a lot of reasons, which we can't go into on this. Some physical, some have nothing to do with their arms. Sometimes you get guys with things that happen in their lower body, their back, like you make some moves. That being said, I feel like we've put our guys in the best position now to be good. Now they just have to go out there and do it. But look, when healthy, Gary Gaines is one of the best pitchers in the Sun Belt, perhaps in the country. He's just coming back, and his best moments are ahead, not only here at Troy, but in professional baseball. I think he's going to pitch in the big leagues. He's a special arm and has certainly been a star in the Sun Belt. Luke Lyon, aside from 2 outings, has been just dynamo, for us, and his compete is through the roof. And Grayson Stewart, I was just talking to, a couple people last night, a couple TV people I stay in touch with, and they had watched the game, and they were commending how good he was. And we used him in these 2 short starts last week to try to get his mojo going. We told him he had 35 to 40 pitches in a start, and whatever he gets in a midweek. And he was really good. His fastball was up to 94 plus, which hardest bolt he's ever thrown. And then we brought him back on the Sunday with the series on the line against Georgia State, and he gave us 3 2/3. And you're like, okay, I'm seeing a little more. And then yesterday he was tremendous. He pitched, not only in spots early on where the game was in the balance, but he pitched with a lead, and his aggressiveness was really good. And in the end, I think he's getting his mojo. And to your point, you see this all the time. Sometimes numbers don't tell the story. It's who's the hot hand, who's getting better, right? Your numbers early in the year may have have zero reflection. We look at a Christian Asbury last year who's throwing in the regional against Bama, 4 1/3 innings, 7 punchies. And this was a guy that in the middle of March at the time had a 15 ERA. Well, yeah, he wasn't very good, but guess what? He improved, got better. In the month of May and June last year for us, he had a 1 ERA in like 20 innings. So who's getting hot, whose mojo's going the right way, and who's going to be there to help you push through the finish line?
Your offense has been spectacular, especially in Sun Belt Conference games where Kyle Mock leads the conference with 419 average in conference play. He's top 5 in slugging, on base percentage. Brooks Bryan might be a player of the year candidate. The average is a little low, but gosh, he's got 16 homers and 74 RBI. Cole Myers has been great for you, 9 homers, 4 triples. Tremaine Cobb even hit a grand slam for you, as you mentioned already, in that Coastal Series. But where he really helps you is in the field, only 3 errors the entire season.
Yeah, I'm a fan of all of those guys. I wish they had more eligibility left. Get a little scared when you look at great players such as that moving on, whether it be
portal for coach.
Yes, I'm telling you, we'll be bringing a whole new crew in. But you know what? That's what we had to do 2 years ago, and that's why we have the team we have. So we'll figure that out. But look, I think Cole Myers is an All-American. I think he's one of the. Look, he's number 1 in the country in center fielders in WAR. There's 305 Division I teams. That means you're pretty good.
Yep.
I think he's as dynamo as there is. You mentioned Trey Cobb. I couldn't be more proud of Trey and just the improvements. And He's been such a leader on the field, which was not in his DNA, or at least it didn't appear to be last year. He's having such a blast doing it. He plays with his style, which is just contagious. Mock is an old hitter who, Coach Wolgamon, who runs our offense, I'm there for support and to tell him not to have bad body language, and to yell at him when the base running's not up to snuff. But what Coach does with our offense and the preparation and the little finite details that happen with hitters each and every day, he's as good as there is in college baseball. And I think the proof's in the pudding what we do offensively. All the guys are just dialed in. Ethan Cavanaugh has just continued to elevate his game because he added strength. Brooks Bryan is leads the country in RBIs. That's we like
74
stat, and so he's playing like a superstar, and he's a kid. And Coach, you'll really appreciate this. We coached him hard his freshman year. He came in, he had to change his body. He had to get more focused day in, day out. We coached him hard. I know I'm a very nice guy, but there was a couple times we weren't too nice to him. But I'm telling you, it shows you what a winner he is, that he just took it, kept his head down, and I'm not saying that's why he's become great, but my point is he just took it like as great as you could ever see a player take some serious hard truths in coaching, and now he's playing at an insane level. And to me, I thought it's as good of a catcher combo you'll see in college baseball this weekend with Brooks and Mr. Bodine. And I will, no disrespect to anyone else, that's the best college receiver I have ever seen in my 17 years of coaching. That is a special catcher. That guy's going to be in the big leagues very, very soon once he gets in professional baseball. He creates tricks I have not seen in college before with the catcher, and he's a great leader with those guys too. You can just tell.
Final thing, things are setting up very well for you after you sweep Coastal. You got Louisiana come to your place. You're the only team within shouting distance of this team. You're in second place by yourself in the Sun Belt. You got the RPI. You boosted your RPI 25 points by going to Coastal and doing what you did. So now you're back legitimately from an RPI standpoint in the NCAA regional conversation. Of course, you went last year, won 40 games. You're tracking towards 40 wins again this year. Things look good as you look ahead to that weekend. I know you got a midweek game, but as you look ahead to that weekend and facing that tough Louisiana pitching staff, what do you feel about that series?
I haven't got to look. I mean, I've seen them on TV. Obviously, I follow everyone in the Sun Belt because
don't pitch to the barge.
Well, it seems like he's getting hot. Gosh,
yeah, he is. He had a big weekend.
He's a heck of a player. Seems like he's their mojo, most certainly. I'll tell you what excites me. Just our schedule is so challenging this last third, this final leg in this first part of the regular season journey, and to get Alabama State, who's always winning their league, coming in tomorrow night, having Louisiana come into our park on the weekend. We have Alabama here on the Tuesday before we head down to Texas State, and then wrap it up with JMU, who's having a heck of a year, to come in here. You want to be challenged. We have tough games ahead, and so it kind of goes to the point we talked about where guys, hey, you don't have to tell me, you just need to go do it. Like guys and or teams that want to be really good, this is what you sign up for. And so we get to have a great crowd tomorrow at home. We're going to honor here at Troy. Baseball is so big. We do our student athlete honor roll night, so that gets a great crowd tomorrow. Obviously, what will happen on the weekend, it should be chaos here. Bama comes in. We're going to set an attendance record. We'll get over 5,000 people. I guarantee it. That's going to be cool. And then, of course, going on the road to Texas State is going to be really tough as always. And then finishing up with the senior weekend and JMU and all that. So I'm excited to go to practice here in a little bit. Our guys lift in 2 minutes. We got to keep them yoked up, got to keep them strong, feeling good mentally. We'll practice for about 55 minutes, just work some small details with our Ps, and only about half our guys will take swings. We'll do some disciplined base running stuff. Our leads sucked in the second part of the game yesterday. Guys didn't know, I guess I get it on a Sunday, but our leads got a little sloppy. Our first step wasn't good, so we'll button that up and then be ready to absolutely attack tomorrow and give them off Wednesday and then prepare for the weekend when we get there. But I'm just fired up that we have everything in front of us.
We're fired up to talk to you. Thanks a lot for being with us, Coach. We really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. And, Coach, I wish I could have listened to you a little longer. We needed something to watch on that bus last night. We were starting to run on fumes. You know, we had to resort to the Ant-Man, watch a little basketball there late.
Hey, every once in a while, unplugging's not a bad idea. You get a little rest and lay your head down. But, hey, congratulations on a badass weekend. That's hard to do. And congratulations.
Thank you. I will tell you this as we get off here. My wife's very excited. We're going to watch Suits tonight once we're done with this student-athlete event here. My 5-year-old's got a baseball game. And then we're going to watch some Suits and hang out. And you got to shut the brain down. You're 100% right. At some point you got to. So we'll do that tonight, and then we'll get ready to compete our butts off tomorrow night here at RPF.
Sounds great. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Always great to talk to Troy head coach Skylar Meade. And, Coach, let's take a look at our starting 9 for the week. Got a heavy Troy representation, as you might imagine. We'll start with the infield. The catcher from Troy, Brooks Bryant, 6 for 11, couple of homers and 6 RBI. The first baseman, Will Butcher. He was only 3 for 14, but his 3 hits were all big ones. A couple of doubles, a home run, and 6 RBI. JMU second baseman Mike Mancini back on the list. Seems like he's here every week. 4 for 10, a couple of homers, 4 RBI, 4 runs scored. Shortstop for Louisiana, Kyle DeBarge. No-brainer there. 5 for 12, double, 2 homers, 8 RBI, with an honorable mention for Old Dominion's Kyle Edwards. He was really good, just not quite as good as Kyle DeBarge. And at third base, we got Old Dominion third baseman Kenny Lavari, 6 for 15, couple of doubles, couple of home runs, 5 RBI, and 5 runs scored. And he's got a 14-game hitting streak. That's our infield for the week.
I'm excited because I get to see the 2 infielders from ODU this weekend. And I love watching great infield play, and so I'll get a chance to see them with my own eyes. And so that'll be fun and exciting for me. And then DeBarge, I mean, as you just said, I mean, it's no big surprise. That guy continues to play at an incredibly high level. And so, look, I think what's going to be kind of fun, I'm going to let you finish the list, but I want to say this. I think at the end of this, when we get past the last weekend, we need to come up with what the best throughout the whole deal, our team for what for the season was, the regular season, not the postseason.
Sure, absolutely.
Just going into it, I think it'll be fun to see what that looks like.
Yeah, no doubt we will. Outfield, we got Appalachians Banks Tolley again, 5 for 11 home run, which set the single-season program record for the Mountaineers. That's number 18. He had 5 RBI, 6 runs scored. James Madison's Fenwick Trimble, another guy who's on the list every week, it seems like. 7 for 15, couple of doubles. He hit 3 home runs, had 5 RBI, and 6 runs scored. And Troy's Ben Arnett, who we had, Skylar Meade was telling us all about this guy. This guy has been snake bitten. He's just been injured his entire career. They finally got him in the lineup. He had a big weekend at Coastal, 6 for 12, couple of homers, couple of RBI, 5 runs scored. And the aforementioned DH from App, Xavier Maranta, 5 for 12, a homer, and 7 RBI. I mean, he's just been phenomenal these last 2 weekends in the Sun Belt Conference, and the Mountaineers have a 7-game unbeaten streak when you include that tie they had at Arkansas State. Our starting rotation, once again, Louisiana's Andrew Herman's on the list, 8 innings, 2 runs on 3 hits, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, got a win. Drayton Brown from Texas State, a 7-game complete game shutout, 4 hits, gave up 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, got the win. And Southern Miss's Nico Mazza, 7 scoreless innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. No decision for him, but he was spectacular in what turned out to be a Game 2 victory for them at Louisiana.
I'll tell you what, a lot of repeat guys on there.
Yeah,
you know what
indeed.
I mean? Yeah. And again, a lot of that has obviously got to do with their performance, but it also starts to tell you a lot about who they are as players and their dependability and how they are, how consistent they are, and then also starts to really tell you just how good a player they are.
We don't have a repeat is in the bullpen. LP Longevin's not in the bullpen for the first time. And he wasn't terrible. He just didn't.
No,
he didn't
wasn't.
He didn't put up the lights out numbers that he has in past weekends. It's led by Old Dominion's John Hollabetz. He went 5 1/3 scoreless, 2 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts. no decision in one of those, got them a win there in one of those extra inning games. App State's Gray Laspaludo, let me say it again, Laspaludo, 3 scoreless, hitless innings, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, picked up his 7th win of the season, which I believe leads the Sun Belt Conference. Yep. And Zach Lewis, his partner out of that App State bullpen, 2 scoreless with a walk and a strike and 2 strikeouts, and he picked up a save in 2 appearances over the weekend. So that's our bullpen.
You know what? It's going to be interesting to see this weekend because, Lajavon, for them to win on the road, he'll have to be right back out there again.
Yeah, no doubt he will. And that leads us to our final comments of the day and our big series for the weekend. It's, again, those 2, Louisiana at Troy, Coastal at Southern Miss. You look at can Louisiana's great pitching, which we know they have, slow down that Troy offense, which has just been on a massive roll lately, and can Coastal regroup? I mean, they've lost 5 in a row, and both these teams are really playing for spots in the tournament. And also, Southern Miss is kind of on the cusp there. I would like to think they're going to be in the NCAA regional regardless, but from an RPI standpoint, they're in the 40s, so it's a big series for them too, in that regard.
Well, those are the top, everybody's going to have their eyes on them because they're at that top half of it. But there's going to be a lot of people with interest in the gut of that Sun Belt right now, trying to see who's going to get inside that top 6. And like we talked about earlier in the podcast, who just even making postseason play. And this weekend, there's going to be a lot of games that are going to obviously going to affect that and what that looks like. And you wouldn't think, I promise you, as much as winning a regular season championship and how important that is and how stressful that is and how intense that is, sometimes when you're at that bottom part, you're trying so desperately just to get a chance to get into postseason, meaning the conference tournament. It just shows you just how tough and how good the Sun Belt is. There'll be a lot of guys with a lot of, anxiety. We got to go, we got to do this. And players are going to have to respond. And sometimes it's not the same as winning a regular season or chasing a regular season championship, but it's still as intense. Because you want that opportunity to go play in postseason play.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, enjoy your baseball weekend. I know you got the Old Dominion series, Texas State and Old Dominion, and that's one of those series you're talking about from the Bobcats' perspective, man. They really got to win a series here because they're in 11th place right now. And I'll be calling the Georgia Vanderbilt series in the Southeastern Conference, so looking forward to that. And we'll reconvene in this same spot next week, okay?
It will be the same place, but I won't be in the same spot. I won't be in my truck, I hope, next Monday. And I apologize if you can see my headrest behind it. I had to pull over in the great city.
It's all good.
I had to pull over in the great city of Corsicana, Texas. So I'm trying to get some work done.
It's like you're on the road, I'm on the road. I'll be back home next week, so we'll be back in our familiar spots, but hopefully the same great content. Hey, and if you like it, subscribe to it. Give us a like. Subscribe to it there on YouTube, and follow along. So we'll be doing this every week. Coach, appreciate it.
Always. Good to see you.
Good to see you.